Well, hello, enlightened networkers, and welcome to Wise Women Weekly with Robin and Monty. We come to you every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we share success principles from thought leaders and authors and just amazing people. But we do it from a softer side perspective. And so we are so excited that you are here with us again. I'm actually coming to you live from my home in Columbus, Ohio, and Robin is coming from her home there in Bozeman, Montana. And last week we had an amazing show, and I was so excited to talk about effective communication. And we both talked about that and gave lots of tips and tools on how to communicate in the networking profession. And really, the bottom line was really how to connect with people. And so that went really well. And so we are back again this week with a very special guest with Anne Gillis, when she's going to teach us and share with us her philosophies on Ezosophy. Making life simpler is the bottom line. And I tell you what, I have been waiting for this for 2 weeks at least. And I said, you know what, anyone that can show me and teach me how to take the hectic things that go on in my day-to-day life and simplify them, I'm all ears. So as you can see, I've got my paper, I've got my pen, and even though I'm going to be here and listening and helping to conduct the interview with Robin, I am going to be listening as a student. So I'm super excited today. Robin, what do you have to say to all of our enlightened networkers that are here with us on Wise Women Weekly?
Well, as Mani said, welcome, and we always thank you for taking the time to be with us. And like Mani said, we are students with you every week, and we're constantly learning with each other, with you, with our wonderful guests, and we've got quite the lineup. And this is one of my absolute favorites to share with an audience, because today we have Anne Gillis. And I met Anne through a special friend many years ago, and she's always been a favorite on every show that I've had because of her message and who she is, where she comes from. She totally embodies what she's about, and you're going to hear some stories today from her. Anne is an Ezosophist, and she coined that phrase, and she created that movement, and she is a foremost expert on ease, an international speaker, author, minister, and personal growth coach. She's the past president of the Theosophical Society of Houston Lodge, and she's an activist. I love her wisdom. I love her humor. I love her joy. I love her being. And I love that she gets to be with us today and share her amazing message, because she's been a student, and she started on her path at a very young age. Her spiritual pilgrimage started when she was 4, and she has been many places all over the world on the inner journey and the outer journey. And today we are here to share with you our special guest, Anne Gillis. Say hello, Anne.
Oh, hi, Robin. So good to see you. I'm laughing as I'm listening to the introduction, because when you say I started my pilgrimage at a very young age, that means that I got to give up sooner than most people, because as long as we're out there efforting and we think that we can get it and we're working it, making it happen, you know, at some point we just collapse exhausted and say, I just can't figure this out. So I got to do that sooner than a lot of people.
Lucky you. Lucky you. So why don't we get started, because this term that you coined and this movement and this way of being is a little different than some people, because some people say, well, you know, no pain, no gain, and you have a different perspective and a different philosophy. So you coined the phrase. So what, Anne, is Ezosophy?
Okay, I'm going to tell you what Ezosophy is, but I want to react to what you said when you said no pain, no gain, because sometimes that philosophy does work. However, life is so paradoxical that there are times when we all need to be kicked in the butt, and there are times that we need to be held by the hand. And
That's
so
beautiful.
the Ezosophy philosophy is the time to be held by the hand. You know, this is because it's not always. Sometimes we don't need to take it easy. Sometimes we need to get up. I mean, we need to effort. But there is a part of our consciousness and a part of our culture that believes that life is hard. And that's about the opposite of Ezosophy. Is life is hard, and it's hard all the time, and things can never change. So Ezosophy is a medicine for that, and in Ezosophy it is that life can be easy, or at least easier. That everything can be touched by ease. Even the most difficult situations can be touched by ease. They will ease up. They won't be just easy. However, many things, and most of the things we do, can actually be easy because we have a culture that worships and deifies the idea of life is hard.
Interesting. So, Moni, you want to respond to that?
I think that was so true. The thing that stuck out to me the most was, and I wrote this down, and it's so true. There are times when we need to be kicked in the butt, and there are times we need to be taken by the hand. And I thought that was so profound because it's so true. And I think that it takes good coaches, such as yourself, to understand when those times are, because those times are different for everyone. I know that there are times when I remember telling someone, I said, there are times when, I need to be pushed, and there are some times when I just need a soft place to be held, and both of them were effective at getting me, over those bridges and helping me to rebuild and to refresh. So I thought that was fabulous. So, when you were coming up with this philosophy, how did you develop Ezosophy?
It was pretty simple. As I said, I got to try everything quickly, and that means that since everything didn't work and I would continue to suffer, and then I'd try a new everything, or I'd try to do everything differently, I kept going around in circles, and I had to say, there has to be something else other than suffering. I've got to have some kind of impact or some kind of ability to move in different ways. And one night I sat down at my computer and I wrote these 7 vows. And the next morning I got up and I talked about those 7 vows at the spiritual center that I ran. And then I put them in my newsletter. And people responded. I got just a tremendous number of responses from a paper email. This is the old days when you mail things out of the mail. And I had over 200 responses from that. And I had other people that wanted to put it in their newsletters. And so I began living by that philosophy and by those 7 vows. And one day I was in the bathtub and I had this problem. It was a really, really deep problem. And I said, I'm talking to my inner voice and I'm saying, how do I solve this? And I heard this inner voice that solved it. And the way that it solved it was no longer a problem. And I went, oh my gosh, that was so easy. And the voice said back to me, well, aren't you my easy disciple? And I just felt it go through my body, and I recognized that I was an easy disciple, that was my message. And so I actually changed the name, but not the philosophy, to Ezosophy, from easy disciple to Ezosophy. I thought maybe that was a little more catchy. And so it flowed through me out of my own pain. And often our purpose comes from our pain. It comes from our suffering. It's something in us wants to get out. And so this message wanted to get out, and through the suffering, it did come out.
Wow. Wow. What do you have to say to that, Robin? That was amazing. And that was so true. It's so true because there is, and I tell people this all the time, there is purpose in our pain. I mean, I think the greatest lessons and the greatest things that I ever get to share with anybody is how I got from the pain and being able to triumph over that and seeing that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that you can get through it. And so I've always seen that suffering and pain has never been in vain. And that just kind of rhymed. Oh my God, that was kind of cool. But but seriously, I mean, I think I might need to be a poet. But yeah, in all seriousness, I mean, I think that's so true.
Well, Robin and Moni, I want to make a distinction about the pain, the kinds of pain and suffering. Is that cool?
Great, please.
Yes, please.
There are 2 kinds of suffering. One is ego-driven suffering, and one is genuine suffering and pain. And ego-driven suffering is a suffering that we make up. It's the suffering, for example, if you have to get up every morning at 6 o'clock to go to work, and every day you suffer about getting up at 6 o'clock, and you've been doing the same job for 5 years, and you're not going to stop, that's ego-driven suffering, because it's a choice at that point. And so it's not, oh, it's 6 o'clock, the world is against me because I have to get up. And people actually behave like this. It's like the world is out to get me because I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, or because I have to do my paperwork, or because I have to take the trash out, or because an appliance broke down. This is ego-driven struggle and suffering. And so if we have a business, we know what it needs to do, and then we pick everything, and we say, oh, I'm not going to do this, I can't do this. That's ego-driven suffering. I mean, even I talk about how people glorify suffering, ego-driven suffering. For example, people brag about how long they can go on an automobile trip without stopping to pee. I mean, really, it's like, honey, I can go for 10 hours. I mean, and the body is probably, really in pain by this point. It makes no sense. We think that we're great people because we can endure this suffering, and that is what I call crazy. So genuine suffering is a real loss. For example, if you have a job that you love, and someone calls you in and said you're being laid off, well, and you had no idea, then yeah, you're going to suffer some about it. You're going to get up and pick yourself up and, drag yourself out of the pit. But you got license to be upset and shocked for a moment. Or a good friend is in an automobile accident. They're hovering in pain. Well, you're there, and it's very traumatic and it's scary. And so, yes, that's genuine suffering. But we have so much more ego-driven suffering than we do genuine suffering. As I'm saying, it is the cornerstone of our culture. Remember, life is hard, and you must suffer about it. It's very American to suffer about it. What do you mean you're not suffering? And it will never change, can never change. No change is possible. Somebody says, well, how about doing so-and-so? Oh, no, this is my situation. It's always been like this. It will always be like this, and it will never change. Do not speak to me about it changing, because I already have been down this road. Nobody knows my pain like I do, and I don't want your interference.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy. Well,
now I got to say something else after this.
Okay.
I want to give the flip side of this argument. There is a game, and you really need to know this in your sales, especially if you're in the management team, and it's called Why Don't You Yes But. So if the person has a problem, number one, if you are a manager in sales, the very first thing to ask them is, have you tried this? Have you tried this? That is not it. The thing to ask them is, how do you feel about this? Because if you start popping out solutions, you will get into what's called a game. And a game is something designed that ends in a feeling of upset and a loss of intimacy and almost frustration. So what most people do in that, let's say somebody saying, I just don't like to call people on the phone. And then you say, well, have you tried finding a good time of day? And they'll say, yes, but. And then whatever it is. Yes, but that doesn't work because the best time of day is the day that my dog always gnaws on my foot. So that won't work. And so you say, well, have you tried perfuming the room and playing beautiful music before you make phone calls? And they'll say, yes, I did that yesterday. It doesn't work. So you keep offering solutions, and they keep saying yes, but. This game is played by two people. It's not just one person. And often what we do is we walk away from those conversations and say, well, that person is not very solution-oriented. But what it is when a person has a problem, the very beginning place is not the solution. Remember that. We're talking about soft sales, hard sales, or we're solution-oriented now. The question is, how do you feel about this? What do you tell yourself when you can't make telephone calls? What kind of attitude do you have toward yourself because you can't make calls? And then have them talk that out. And then the next thing you do is talk to them about acceptance. And said the best thing for you to do is not push yourself into calls, but to say, even though I don't like to make calls, It's I'm an okay person and there's not anything wrong with me. As a matter of fact, you probably will find if you're a wise manager, instead of trying to BS people about people love to make phone calls, almost no one likes to make cold calls. Nobody likes to make phone calls until after they're made. You know that. You don't want to pick the phone up. You don't want to call, but you do call. And then you get so excited because there's a good reception on the other end. But at the beginning, nobody wants to call. So back to the original thing, and that is the way that we address people that work under us is that we don't want to go for the solution first. We want to go for the feelings. And then we start asking them for solutions. Well, what do you think might be a way that you could handle that? And then maybe say, in this particular case, do you know that almost everybody hates to make phone calls, even the very top sellers, even the people that make millions of dollars? They don't like to make those calls. And you know that you can make telephone calls to people even if you don't like to, and even if you're afraid, and even if you feel bad about it, you can still do it and it'll be okay. Just try it a few times. Make a deal with yourself. Say, I'm going to make 5 phone calls, and even though I am so afraid and I hate to do it and I don't want to do it, as an experiment, just as an experiment, I'm going to see how it is. I'm not going to make a list of 150 calls to make every day. I'm just going to address this problem by making 5 phone calls.
Wow.
So,
well, so many things just happened with what you said, and I want to go back just a little bit and then come current because, you know, those 2 different distinctions of suffering are, I think, really important. The ego-driven one and the genuine one, and to be aware enough, because I know so much, Anne, of what your work is about is an inside-out job. And what you just said about coming from solution, thinking you're helping someone, versus asking them to come up with their own solutions and to tap into the feelings, because I know so much of what you've created in your life with ease has come from how you feel and how you attract instead of how you push it out there, how you draw it in. So could you talk a little bit more about this, and then we'll get into what does it mean to be a Hardaholic?
oh, I'm sorry, did you say talk a little bit more about what?
The distinction between coming from the feeling and attracting versus trying to push from the outside in versus the inside out. Because I know so much of your work on Ezosophy is about attracting and having things be easier from that place instead of pushing.
Right. So what I like to do is, if I want to get something done, for example, if I wanted to sell something, what I would do is I would make a list of all the things that in my mind need to happen for this to happen. And an example I'd like to give, and this example I've talked about on my affirmation for sacred sales CD for network marketers. And the story that I tell is that I used to work for an insurance company, and this was a long time ago, but one of the things that we got was that we got flyers that we could stuff into people's mailboxes. And I did not like the idea of stuffing these mailboxes. That did not, but it seemed like it would. I'd hear these stories about how people stuffed the mailboxes and how good it did and so forth. But I decided to try an experiment because I said, I'm going to do it my way, because, you know, I'm a law of attraction person. And I was a law of attraction person before it really had that name. We used to call it manifesting. So I would sit down and I'd look at the sheet and I'd get it in my mind what it looked like, this promotional piece. And I would go door to door in my mind, and I would put it in the mailbox. And I would go to the next house, and I would put it in the mailbox, and I would put it in the mailbox. And then I would try following up in some way with these people. And no, I'm sorry, that's not what I would do. I would just follow up any lead that I had. It didn't matter. It didn't have to be with these people. So the idea to me was that if I put out work in the universe and then I show up, that something will happen. So I looked at how much business I got that way. And then I did another experiment in which I really did go stuff all the mailboxes. And in both instances, I got business. But which way was the way I wanted to do it? I wanted to do it by stuffing mailboxes in my head. And so that's the method that I chose. And that was to just visualize myself doing the work. And that's how I was able to well, sell $1 million worth of life insurance the first year that I was in business, and go on all kinds of sales trips and win call it an honors award in selling casualty insurance, and just a lot of different things that I did in terms of, high volume sales. But I did it not like I was taught to do it. I did it from the inside out, like you said. I want to give another tip. I think it's an inside out tip, and that is that whenever there's anyone in the management team or anybody you're going to talk to, we tend to have a story in our head before we talk to somebody. We start talking to people before we actually meet, before we call them on the phone. And often that is, the conversation may go something like, they don't want to talk to me, they don't want to hear what I have to say, that kind of thing. And what I'm going to suggest is so radically simple, and that is, before we make any phone call, just to take a moment and imagine that person is outrageously happy. That doesn't have to be happy to hear us or anything, but just see them as happy. And of course, as we see somebody else as happy, we begin to feel this happiness. And just immerse them and surround them by joy, and that sets up somewhat of a universal connection. It's a little ineffable about it, but can you see how that approach would make people, it's just so much easier to call someone when I'm feeling really good about the way I think they feel. And actually, I believe when we do that, we really contribute to their sense of joy.
I love it, and to ours too. So, Mani, what do you think of that?
Absolutely.
I love it because, I I remember I used to have those conversations in my head before I would ask my parents for something, and I would think that I already knew what they were going to say, and I would already prepare myself, and there would be times when I would upset myself even before even talking to them, and then I'd talk myself out of going and talking to them, and then they would say, well, why didn't you just talk to me? I would have said yes, but I'd already had the back and forth and the conversation in my own head because I imagined, oh, well, what if they don't say the right, what if they don't give me the answer that I want? What if I can't go to the party? Or what if I really wanted to go, and what if they say no? What if I can't go on the date? And I would do those things back and forth, but if I had had the tip to imagine them as outrageously happy, which they were fine, I wouldn't have done those things. But I think so many people do that, especially in the networking space. They talk themselves out of it. They don't want to make the phone call. So that, well, what if, and they'll talk people out of it and say, well, they probably don't have the money. And I remember thinking that when I first started coaching, I used to wonder, are my rates too low? Are my rates too high? And I would make up in my mind what people would actually do. And I remember the first time I had the courage to say, this is what my rate is. And it was from a person who I didn't think they had the money to be. She goes, okay, no problem. Where do I send the money? And I remember shocking myself because I said, you know what? Wait a minute. Because in my mind, okay, this isn't going to go well. But when she said that, I was totally shocked because at that point, I thought I was talking myself out of it, but I had the courage to just do it and see what I'm like. It's going to laying it out there. We'll see what happens. And it worked. And so now I don't have those conversations of making people's minds up for them like I used to do. I'll just be good at being Mani and not being them too. So I love it.
Well, I want to give another inside out tip, and this is a crazy tip, but Mani, you reminded me of this about what our parents think, and of course we are trained so much by our parents, especially our moods and our mindsets, and whether we think we are approved or disapproved of. And so this in this inside out exercise is that when you wake up in the morning, you curl up in a fetal position, and you do that because what that does is the visualization that I'm going to talk about bypasses the conscious mind when you do that, and it goes into the lower brain, which is what we had when we were in utero. And what you do is you bend down and you actually see a picture of your mom, and this picture of your mom, she says, I want you to be happy. So you're down like this, and you see your mother smiling, and she says, I want you to be happy. And then you do the same thing with your dad, and he says, I want you to be happy. And you just immerse yourself in that sense of love. Because for many people, what we're doing is we're being successful really to try to please this image of our parents, even if they were dead 50 years ago. And so then you can hear them saying, I'm so glad you are happy. I'm so glad you are happy. So this gives us permission to be happy. And it also, instead of seeing our parents as wanting us to be miserable or whatever kind of weird images we have about our parents, is that we see them wanting us to be happy. And you'd be surprised, even if you're depressed and you lie down and you see your mom smiling and saying, I want you to be happy, it has this immediate effect of just washing away a lot of pain. And it's a beautiful thing to start out the day and feel like $1 million.
Wow. Wow.
Kind of speechless at that one.
What was that, Money?
I said I'm kind of speechless at that one. That was really good. That actually, even though we're having fun, that actually really touched me. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
the inside out.
Go ahead.
I'd say, that's the inside out. First, we work with ourselves, and then it shows outside. And I think I mentioned to you, Robin, that I talked to a friend yesterday that said that he had just gotten offered a job by Warren Buffett, and the reason he did was because he worked on himself, and that was the thing that privilege was what allowed him to get a good job with Warren Buffett.
Yeah, love it. And that's one of the things we love about this profession. It is a personal development program with a compensation plan, and Jim Rohn, I think, said work twice as hard on yourself as you do on your business, because you are your business. And that's where this work with Anne is so powerful, because our world comes from this place of suffering and doing things the hard way. And yes, we know things happen, but you use this term, Anne, Hardaholic, and I just get a kick out of that, because it's something that so many of us may have unconsciously bought into, and this opportunity to start our day by, parents really want their children to be happy, and that's the number one, coveted emotion that people want more than anything. So if we take the responsibility and start our day that way and really feel that, we may not have to go that other route that a lot of the other people out there do. So what is being a Hardaholic, Anne?
Well, I want to make, a lot of people get that mixed up with heart as in the heart. That's hard, H-A-R-D, Hardaholic. And simply, a Hardaholic is someone who makes life hard and then suffers about it. Now, I named a few incidences. For example, if you have to take the trash out, if you have to work for a living. That many of us resent working for a living. As a matter of fact, I think most people do. We all want to be taken care of, and we want money to fly in our laps, and we don't want to have to work. And so I would say that's a Hardaholic perspective, and we have to grow out of that. We have to grow up and grow out of the resentment we have for life, because it's not taking care of us. And basically what we're doing is that we got unmet baby needs that weren't met, and so we got to meet them ourselves, because we're now the parent of ourselves, and we have to meet them now, and we have to learn how to make life easier. And a Hardaholic believes that life is about suffering. So the first thing to do is to recognize the choices that we've made about suffering, and to be consciously aware of them moment to moment. We make them every moment. And they're an example of, I kind of want to go back a little bit to the other topic, but I just do want to mention that that I was in an automobile accident just a little while ago, before this program started. And at first it was kind of funny, because I recognized that I had manifested something I wanted, and that's getting the car undercarriage painted, which had been scratched. And I was laughing at it. It was really funny, but the young girl that was responsible for it was crying, and then we were waiting for the police, and I didn't know whether I would get back in time for the show, in time for the program. And so I had wanted to use the time when I got home to look at my notes and to kind of bone up on stuff, so I could get ready for it. And I had that choice, but I knew that that wasn't the best choice for me, because the best choice for me was to go upstairs and take a quick shower, even though I had already had a shower, because that always refreshes me. And I have a massager, and I went all over my body, and I massaged, because when it came to the choice of taking care of my head and more information, or taking care of my body, it was going to be taking care of my body. So I had to do that to prepare it, because if I had just tried to prepare my head, that would have been hard for me. I would still have been in a heart attack, because my body was saying, give me some attention, refresh me, relax me, and my head would say, and you've got to get more information, you've got to get better, you've got to have something at the tip of your fingers, you've got to be professional. And all of those voices had to be quiet, because they were giving me a heart attack. And the voice for peace and quiet says, forget it.
Wow.
Forget it. I've been around life long enough to know that life provides on a moment-to-moment basis that which I need to hear and say.
Well, taking the time to nurture our bodies is one of the things I think a lot of us forget, because we get caught up in this stuff when what we really need is to really feel and have it be from the inside out. So I really thank you for taking care of yourself in the best way possible, Anne. Thank you, thank you. Mani, did you want to say something?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, so blessed to hear with all that you're sharing. And first of all, really happy that you are well, and that you were not harmed or anything, and you're still here smiling, and you made a choice not to suffer through it. I mean, I see so many times, Anne and Robin, I hear people say, well, why did God make this happen? And they're constantly, if something happens, oh, well, God made that, God, or, I don't know why I can't get up and get to work on time. God just must make it so that I'm not, I can't set my alarm clock, and God's making it so I purposely forget to set my alarm clock at night. And there's all these different ways, and everything is just, and I hear, I guess, what I like to call martyrdom syndrome, where people just are always having to tell everyone about how much they're suffering through everything. And it's like you've got every disease ever known. It's like one day you've got this, and then tomorrow you've got that, and then, and everyone's trying to outdo to see who's suffering more, and who's going through things more. And for me, it's always kind of driven me kind of bonkers, to be honest with you. And I've had to tell people this week to say, listen, I'm sorry, but I just can't listen to that, right now. So, we talked about the Hardaholic and the Hardaholic, mantra, and some of the things that you shared about that, when it comes to the person that, a Hardaholic, a person that makes life hard and suffers about it. And the belief life is about suffering, and we know so many people that are like that. But you're living in a space that shows that life can be easy and full of miracles. And I know that you have an 8-word miracle mantra, and I would love for you to share that with us.
Well, the 8-word miracle mantra I've actually said, because I live my life by it, and that is, everything can be easy, or at least easier. Everything can be easy, or at least easier. So if I go around with that thought, then anything that pops up that is a problem, it's like, wait a minute. Because what the ego wants to do is jump on the problem, loves those problems, and suffer about them. Because what it does is it gives us an identity. Suffering becomes our identity. Who am I? Oh, I'm the one that suffers over everything. Look at me, poor little me. But in making a different choice, everything can be easier, at least easier, because it's like we have to shake ourselves. This is the kick in the butt time. When it comes up and I'm trying to suffer about something, I need to just stop and say, am I really going to do this again and again and again and again and again? This has got to stop.
Oh,
I'm stopping.
And can I ask one more question, Robin? What is, I hear everyone has, and I've heard different people share what their definition of the ego is. What is your definition of the ego that you could share with our audience?
Well, I've got a couple of definitions, because I'm probably versed in Eastern religion and all kinds of things. But for me, the ego is just the part of my mind that is up to no good.
I love it.
I'm not talking about, people say, oh, we need the ego because we need to be on, we need to, it helps us do this and that and the other. That's not it. I'm just talking about there is a part of our mind that definitely does not work on our behalf. It might try to protect us, but you can't protect yourself The way the ego would protect me would be say, okay, I'm going to make your life safe. I'm going to give you some matches and teach you how to strike these matches while you're standing in a vat of kerosene. That's about how the ego would go about it. Another one I love to tell is that the ego would be, if you're standing at the top of the building and the ego goes, jump, jump, you fool. You know, your life is worth nothing. What have you ever done? And so you jump, and the ego goes, now you've done it. And so you just can't ever win with the ego. It's always up to no good. It is not on your side. It is a part of your mind that is not on your side.
So what I'm hearing is first we need to be aware, and then we need to choose, because the ego actually, its need to suffer affects our income, doesn't it, Anne?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It affects our income so much. One of the big things is guilt. The ego is very big on dispensing guilt. And guilt equals debt. If you feel guilty, then you will hold debt. Guilt equals money struggle. Because if you feel guilty, what your ego will do is it says you're guilty, and you know how I'm going to fix that? I'm going to punish you. You ever remember when you were little acting out when you were a kid, and if your parents punished you for somehow you felt better because then you were free of the problem or whatever you had done or the mistake, and then you could go free? Somehow the way the ego works, it'll create a bad thing and it'll get us, and you think, okay, now that assuages my guilt. So one of the things that we need to get rid of in order to get our income up is we need to get rid of guilt. And the way that we do that is we begin to instill a sense of innocence about who we are. I am deeply innocent. And even though my behavior is not always perfect, I can't help that because I'm human. But I am inherently innocent with everything. And if the mind starts going to, you're guilty because you're sick, or you're guilty because of your income, or you're guilty because you can't find the right network marketing program that you want to be in, or you're guilty because you cry when somebody looks at you funny, or you're whatever it is, and we just have to go back and rest in that innocence, and it's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I am innocent.
Whoa.
And there's another side to it. The other side to this guilt thing is this sense of irritation and blame and upset with other people. Now, that also can be a really big detriment in our income. So resentment also equals poverty. And remember, now when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about, we're all privileged people, and we're not people that are homeless people. This is what I'm talking about for the first privileged people, and that is that when we hold resentment, that shows up in our energy field. The more we can forgive people and let go of our upset with people, the more we can circulate in terms of our finances. So if we forgive people and we begin to not have this sense of guilt, then we can begin to really work on our receiving consciousness. And I make a distinction between earning and receiving. Earning to me is a Hardaholic word, and receiving is an Ezosophy word. When I earn, I have to effort, strategize, and plan. When I receive, then I intuitively follow a plan. I may actually write down step 1, 2, and 3, but I receive that intuitively. I didn't receive that because somebody told me this is how you sell. When I sold my first $1 million worth of life insurance many, many years ago, they told me how I needed to sell. And I thought, that's not right for me. I know how I need to sell. And everybody has that. Everybody knows how they need to sell. We have to get in touch with that part of us that knows how we need to sell. And I did. And I sold. And I got, talk about miracles. I just made a commitment, and that is, I am going to sell X amount by X time. And it wasn't, I was hoping I was going to. It was just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to do this. And my manager came to me and said, we've got some people in our group that really want you to make it. And they gave me their sales so that I could make it. I mean, who could have ever imagined? When I went into the office, when I went to that insurance office, people were cutthroat. The competition, you could see, it was hanging in the air. And I just went, this isn't going to last. Everybody has totally forgotten they love each other. Total mess.
Wow.
So, when I left, everybody was compatible. People gave me their business instead of competition. We're talking gave it.
Oh, this is so refreshing, so refreshing. Monty, what do you want to say to that?
That was huge. That was huge. And, I love, one of the things that actually stuck out to me, I listened with intention. And when you said the words, this isn't going to last, everyone forgot that they loved each other. Like, that was so huge, because in business and in life, we talk a lot about coming from the softer side, here at Wise Women Weekly, and we talk about heart-centered connections, and not and connecting with people versus recruiting them, and versus selling to them, and all of those things, are what has made me successful. And I'm sure Robin, and yourself, is that we remembered the connection, and we remember that it was bigger than just about the sale. And when it becomes about those things, people do forget, and that's when the arrogance comes in, and fighting comes in, and competition in a negative way comes in. And so I think that's really, really, really important. So my next question for you, Anne,
can I
sure,
start
for
one?
yeah.
And I just want to give a converse side, and this is something I did in sales. It was radically different. I don't think anyone has ever done it. It worked for me. It may not work for you. I sold life insurance, and we had to sell life insurance, a certain amount of life insurance, because that was what made the company the most money, not their casualty market. And nobody wanted to hear, in those days, nobody ever wanted to talk to anybody that sold life insurance. That doesn't even hardly exist anymore. I mean, the market is not like it used to be, but nobody wanted to talk to anybody about buying life insurance. There were life insurance salespeople everywhere. But I just would do, everybody I talked to, I'd go, hey, do you want to buy some life insurance? I mean, they would give me all these things that you talk to somebody and you try to see what their needs were and all this crap. And it was like, I'd just say, do you want to buy some life insurance? And they'd say, yes, no. And I'd talk to everyone. You talk to 102 people and just have the courage to say, you want to buy life insurance? And somebody says, I just had a baby. I want to buy life insurance. Or we just bought a house, yes. And so even though I had to maybe talk to 10 or 50 times more people, it was so much easier for me to just not try to beat around the bush and say that. So in network marketing, say, I've got a business opportunity. We're selling widgets, and I'm just wondering if you're interested in it. Talk to 1 million people about it, and you'll find some people that are interested. I mean, you don't want to have to be, these people that have these business opportunities and they're secretive, well, I don't want to tell you about it and everything, and I'll say, oh, I don't want to go, because I'm not going to go if you don't tell me, because I'm not into secrets. So that's, if somebody got to trick me to go into a business opportunity meeting, honey, I will not be there. So it doesn't matter. You can do it however you want, but I'm just saying sometimes just being radically out there and just asking everybody in sight. And then after you got the no or the yes, you can just go on. It's not invasive. People say, no, I'm not interested, or yeah, or that doesn't work. Okay, next.
And the key is you're not taking it personally.
Yeah, just a thought, in terms of how to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Anne, what is the key to us having an easier relationship with money?
Well, actually, I think I've mentioned that. The things that we do begin to do is that we begin to forgive others, we begin to hold resentment, and then we begin to not suffer about money. If we believe that life is about suffering, often we will choose one category in which we will suffer. So if you have chosen money and suffering about money, then we have to go back and roll it back to understanding that if you're suffering a lot about money, the underlying belief about that is that life is suffering, life is hard, and I have to suffer. So we have to undo that. Life can be easier, life can be different, and I can make it easier. I don't have to suffer so much. And so then when we start suffering about money and realize it's our projection into money, it is to stop that suffering, which is very addictive, it's very exciting, it's very juicy to the ego, but you just stop it. Stop the suffering about money. So number one, the steps are recognize that it's all about suffering. Number two, stop suffering about money. Then number three, begin to picture money coming in. And picture it coming in whatever ways it is that you would get it in. And then when I'm saying that, I mean, would you get it from somebody giving you a credit card? Would you get it from PayPal? Would you get it from a check? Would you get it from cash? Don't say, I've sold X number of people, and I brought X number of people into the business, only see the money directly. Yet let the universe take you from receiving the money, not earning it, but receiving the money, to the how-tos. Now, of course, you're going to be doing your business and looking for ways to do it and so forth. But when we have this image of money coming to us, then the universe begins to pour money through the channels that we already have. I mean, the universe is not going to try to send you money through some kind of obscure business deal in Africa, because you're not there and you probably don't know anybody there. So the way you'll get it is that it's going to send it through channels that you already have set up. So see that money coming in, but I don't like the goals of being specific, even though at that time I had to, because the only way to win a trip to Bermuda was to sell X number of things, and so, you know, they're opposites. But I find it easier. It's just easier for me to see the money coming in. Yes, it's just easier.
Okay. Well,
and when my money gets down, I have this is something else you need to know about money. Money ebbs and flows. So this should not be a shock. Look back on your life and see if you can find that sometimes you make more money than you do. You know, and then sometimes you make less money. Sometimes you make more money. Sometimes you make less money. What happens when we make less money is we go have a heart attack. Oh, I'm making less money. Oh no, it can't be real. This is terrible. What is the universe doing to me? What is God doing to me? What is happening? But I mean, get real. It has happened so many times before. Why the shock factor? Why a heart attack? Money will come, money will go. It is probably safe to have money saved, so that when money is not coming in as much, then, you know, we can rely on that. And so, I'm just saying, please do not be shocked by the ebb and flow. We have to money-proof ourselves, so that when money goes down. Recently, my money I have not had as much money coming in, but I've been so money-proof and so relaxed about the money that it didn't concern me. And I went, oh my gosh, I do actually need to work on my prosperity consciousness and begin to see the money coming in right now, because I do want to have some more money come in. I've got money to last me for a long time, but I prefer to ease back into the flow section. So I've started listening to prosperity affirmations before, when I'm going to sleep at night. I listen to them in my earphones, and I just see myself getting money. And so that's the way I work on it. And I consider that a part of my business life. And I think everyone who is in business and they're in metaphysics and they understand the law of attraction, if they have any concern about money, well, or not, I think that we should picture that money coming in every day. And as I'm saying, it could be through PayPal, it could be through, it can be cash. I love the idea of just seeing cash coming in. And I used to lie in bed and see cash. My husband and I had a time in our lives where we were $4,000 upside down in what our outgo was and our income, and I just knew that I was abundant and I would see the money flow in. And he had gotten a buyout from his business, something, and he had gotten a buyout. And the moment, so I'm saying, if we keep living at this rate, we'll never make it, because we're at $4,000. Well, the obligation that was $4,000 a month, that made $4,000 a month upside down, and we were taking it out of this stash of money that we had, that obligation, the very month we ran out of that money, the obligation was no longer there. So as I kept affirming the abundance, I could say, oh, this is terrible, $4,000 a month more than we got in. It's like, no, let me rest in abundance. And that money lasted, and then we were able to go forward and still have an abundant life. To have a good relationship with money really is based on having a feeling of abundance. Because if we have a feeling of abundance, then the money's always going to show up at the right time. And feeling abundant is that sense of wellness and okay. And that is, whatever I need will show up whenever I need it.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So life is about cycles. There's all kinds of cycles, and money's a cycle too. And coming from that place of abundance and knowing that we're taken care of, all those things just make a huge difference in not falling into those places of living a hardaholic life. So, you're talking a lot about Ezosophy. We've put a lot of attention onto the hard part. We've shifted into the easy part, and most of our audience are people that are professional networkers, and we do sales transactions. So how can we be even a greater Ezosophist in our business? And how do you define sacred sales, Anne? Because I know you come from this really beautiful place of doing sales from a sacred place, and you've talked some about that, but could you tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I want to try to get my other computer over here because I'd like to read you. Sacred sales is sacred attitudes lifting everyone's spirits. So that's an acronym for that. And so sales is not about numbers. Sales is about people. And so your sales that you're talking about, your soft sales, is really sacred sales because it's about relationships with people. It's not about the bottom line of whether or not I get money. Because let me say, if we see abundance and we genuinely do the work, then the money's going to come. And so every no I hear is just like, when I do the work, the universe pays me. And that's a sacred sales contract because my work is to be with people. I may be sent to somebody and I think it's about the interaction, but it's always about love. That's the bottom line with life. Every transaction that we make is about love. So if I'm loving that person and they're loving me, the sale may come, the sale may not come with that person. But I guarantee you the sales will come if we have that love. And I do think that it's probably okay and it's fun, and I've done this. In addition to the money, and that is actually seeing the applications, filling out applications. Probably most of your applications are online. Is that true? I don't know how you do is that how you do them? So however
every business is different, but these days most businesses are pretty digital.
So what you do is that you picture yourself just doing that thing where you're actually entering in the sales thing. And so I'm making a little bit of difference because I'm not focusing on how many sales are being made. I'm not focusing on goals that way. I'm focusing on creating a picture in our mind of turning in sales slips and turning in the actual doing of it rather than the numbers, because it becomes in our energy field, and then that's how we attract it. So we see the money coming in. We see ourselves typing up our sales applications. We see ourselves maybe in a room of people and saying, "Gosh, it's really great to have you here. I love you. It's so good to be with you." And you don't, of course, you're not going to be saying that when you have, when you're with, with a group of people, or maybe you will. I don't know, but in general, that you create a life that you want based on love, not based on getting money. But as I'm saying, I still am going to see myself getting money. I'm just not going to base that money on my application. That's where I like to divorce it, because when an application only means money to me, then I start suffering. You follow what I'm saying by that?
Yeah. So sacred sales, to realize sales is about people and sales is about love, and still to own the part about seeing the transaction go through. Moni, did you want to say anything about that?
I just think that it's beautiful. I love it.
Can I read some sales affirmations?
Oh, I think that would be wonderful.
Yes. So it's sacred to sell. I'm at my best when selling. I love that one. I'm at my best when selling, because I'll be thinking, oh, should I go and I should try, should I do this? And it's like, I'm at my best when selling. And I can feel my body lift up and feel better when I say, I'm at my best when I'm selling. Hooray, it's a new day. It's my intention to help or share. My life and my career operate on honesty and service. Selling is sharing. I sell only the products and services that I can personally endorse and appreciate. And of course, that needs to be a get-go. I remember hearing someone in a network marketing seminar one time say that women tend to endorse their products, and that's more important than men tend to often go for the business opportunity instead of the product. But I think that those two things cannot be divorced. I think that to sell something that we don't believe, if we don't believe in the product, to me, that is not a good idea. That's just mine. I easily attract people who are helped by what I sell. I easily bring people into my business. I feel safe and innocent about selling. I believe in honesty when selling. People first, sales second. Asking for money is safe and honorable. The universe uses me to distribute products and serves services that improve people's lives. I inspire people when I sell. I can remember that I was doing a closing on a call that was very simple like this, and I did a pretty big sales closing. And afterwards, whoever was doing it called me up and said, "That was so wonderful because all of these salespeople were listening to you, and you really asked for the sale." And people love to hear strong women and strong people. So they go on, but those are ideas about sacred sales.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think that you have, so many people have some old stuff about the word, and those affirmations are so beautiful, and I hope people took notes on that one or can go back and listen and write those notes, because transforming how we feel about sales and to realize that we're doing great service, and every time we provide something of value to people, we're enhancing their life. So I know you've got a fun song to share, do you?
I do. Let me see, where's my fun?
Your lyrics. Hey, Monty, you want to sing too?
My lyrics.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. I don't have.
Do I have the lyrics?
You got them?
I got them.
You got them?
I
don't have
into
the
world.
The time.
Let me go. We'll start again.
Okay, ready?
You know what the problem is that we're on a little bit of a time delay, so it may sound a little funny. You're about 1 second behind me. I'll be the lead. Y'all can be the rings. 1 and a 2 and a 3. Joy to the world. The time has come to have a little fun. We frowned and frowned. Our smiles are upside down.
We've been too serious. We've been too serious.
We've been too serious. We came to earth to have some fun and laugh and sing and dance. We brought our light to bring delight and not to be serious, and not be serious, and not be serious. We lost their way, forgot
to play,
and acted like adults. We worked and worked for God's life's perks. We've been too serious. No, we've been too serious. We've been too serious. We choose today to come alive and joke and laugh and dance. We pledge our life to be light and not be serious, and not be serious, and not be serious. That's in my book. I'll be Prayers for the Modern Mystic. Just letting you know that. How long is this call, by the way? Are we over?
Well, it's time to close up, because I wanted to make sure we got the song in and make sure that people know how to access your books, your work, and I think you even have a special offer for us, Anne. So you want to let people know?
Yes, my website is Anne, A-N-N-E, Gillis, Gillis.com. And when you go on there, you'll go to products and then go to CDs. It is a little bit tricky to get through all of that. I can send you a link as well. But I do have my books. I have 3 books. One that on the topic we've been talking about today, Ezosophy, The Art and Wisdom of Easy, or at least Easier Living. The book Offbeat Prayers for the Modern Mystic, which has songs and affirmations as well as prayers for all kinds of things like computers, prayer for depression, prayer for healing, all kinds of affirmative prayers. And then my third book is called Standing in the Dark. And we've all been in the dark, but you know, when you're in the dark and there's only one light, then it certainly shines brightly. But we've been in the dark sometimes when we've been brilliant, but nobody else saw us. We were that light shining in that room by ourselves. But we still have to get up day by day and live our lives, even if we're standing in the dark. And so this book addresses a lot of life situations which sometimes are not all that wonderful and how to get out from them. And it also talks about some of the really vibrant and joyful times in life too. There are vignettes of things in my life, and there are things that you can do and experiments that you can try in your life to make your life easier and better. And then the Ezosophy book also has a lot of to-dos in it as well. And I have a special for you. But what I do want to remind that there is a download. If you don't take the special, there you can buy the CD upright, or you can get the download, and that is Sacred Sales for Network Marketers. And I just read a few of the affirmations all on that, and there also is a short talk before that, and you'll find that online as well. Again, it's Anne, A-N-N-E, at AnneGillis.com, G-I-L-L-I-S, AnneGillis.com. And the special that I have for you is really a great one. It's the Ezosophy bracelet, which has the Ezosophy mantra on it, so you wear it around to remind yourself of the ease that you could be having. It's the Ezosophy book, the book Ezosophy, and it is a network marketing CD download, affirmations for sacred sales. And it is one coaching session with me, and that is an easy coaching session, and that'll be on the area of your life that you would like to make easier, whether it's sales, relationship, money, whatever it is, to make some kind of plan in your life to make it easy or easier. And then finally, and that the entire value is worth $149, and that special is $99, and I'm offering that special if you get that within 1 week's time. So that will go off next Thursday. So if you go to my website, click on products, click on CDs and products, then you can go down and you'll see the arranged $99 special.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it is always a gift to be with you, to hear you, to experience how you embody these principles and philosophy and the impact that you've had on our world, because it's so practical and so wise. So I'm so grateful, my dear. So Mani, you want to close it up?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I ditto everything that Robin said. Thank you so much. You are an amazing addition to this platform, and so we really appreciate you. Everyone, we will see you again next Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are just going to continue to bring incredible guests and content to you. So be sure to spread the word. Let everyone know that we are here each and every week at Wise Women Weekly, and head on over to our Facebook group at Wise Women Weekly, presented by Enlightened Networking. It is public, open, and available. Bring everybody you know so that we can help continue to serve and to share tips and tools to help you be successful from the softer side. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.